Welcome to Under the Microscope. This series is brought to you by the Real Scientists Nano team. Our goal is to provide a platform where scientists can communicate their work and interact with the public.
Hello everyone. Today we have with us Benjamin Eggleton, who is a professor and director of Sydney Nano at the University of Sydney. Hi Benjamin, how are you doing?
I am very good. How are you?
I'm good. Excited to speak with you.
Right? Yep.
So let's start with understanding your research. So could you explain your research to us in super simple words, please?
Yeah, so I'm interested in light photonics, which is basically how we generate and manipulate photons, building blocks of light. And so I've spent the last 20 years on researching how we can harness the properties of light to build new technologies that are primarily used in communication systems. And what we try and do these days is build very compact devices that are the size of your thumbnail that integrate many different optical components to perform very advanced signal processing. And that's really the link into the nanotechnology.
Okay, that sounds good, especially the part that you mentioned with building stuff or chips which are size of the thumbnail. That's really small.
Yeah, so the components on that chip are smaller than the size of your human hair, and the feature sizes are down at the nanoscale. So we use tools that sit in clean rooms, lithography tools, the same type of tools that are used in the semiconductor industry to print circuits that have feature sizes that are nanometer scale that allow us to control light. Now, the light has a wavelength of about 1,000 nanometers, but we need to control the light with structures that have feature sizes of nanometers. So that's really how I connect into the nanoscale. And if we can build these structures, we can create very dense, complicated, sophisticated signal processing components that can be miniaturized onto these tiny chips, and it can massively reduce the size, weight, and power consumption of signal processing components that are used in communication systems and defense, in radar and sensing, and many different areas.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. Really interesting. So what can the followers expect in the week that you will curate the Real Scientist Scroll Nano Twitter account?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to having a number of conversations, or at least promoting a number of different themes that week. I'm going to talk about my journey, how I got to where I am today. In fact, I like to reflect on the fact that I started my journey as an astronomer early on and was more interested in staring at the stars, and still am. I actually really enjoy every night looking up and seeing the International Space Station when it flies over. I've got a bit of an obsession on that at the moment, which is funny. But at the age of about 23, I really decided I was more interested in the study of technology and science of the components that were used in these telescopes, rather than the staring into the telescopes and looking for stars. And that was really my introduction into fiber optics and photonics. And then I pursued a career in industry, and I ended up at university. So I'll talk about that. I'll talk about the research we're doing at Sydney Nano, which is one of the university's flagship institutes, and a very multidisciplinary program. I spend most of my time talking about nanohealth and materials science and quantum computing. So I'll pick up on some of those exciting topics. I want to talk about, some of the experience we've had this year dealing with COVID-19 as an academic, and how the universities in Australia are responding, and the challenges that we face, not only because of the pandemic, but because of the implications of the whole sector on the financial viability of universities. I think that's really interesting, and I think that has certainly global consequences. So I think those are some of the highlights, and I guess I'll give a bit of a personal perspective, probably include some fun photos of my dog and what it's like to live in Sydney.
Okay, that sounds like an action-packed week.
Yeah.
starting with your journey and then also talking about, it's interesting that you actually were started with being interested in looking at stars, if I can simplify it that way. So that would be interesting to read about and follow. So looking forward to your tweets, and thank you very much for speaking with me.
Yep, nice to talk to you too.
Thank you for listening. To know more about us, please visit our website, realscientistsnano.org, and follow us on Twitter at realsci_nano.